After coaching hundreds of older endurance runners, I've come to the realization that all this argument about zone two, zone one, zone three, zone four, zone five, what's the best zone? Should you run all your easy runs easy? Should you do more speed work? It's all just noise, really. What actually is stopping older endurance runners progressing is how they're actually implementing those zones. If you had a shovel, bought a new shovel to dig a beautiful garden with it, but then you hit somebody over the head with it, could you blame the shovel? Is it the shovel's fault, or is it how it's being used? And that's what this video is about. Not shovels, but how you should really use zones to get the most impact from your training. Training for you is a way of staying consistent and having the best race days that you can have as a 50 plus endurance runner. I read and see people arguing over a zone. Like the shovel analogy, what's the best shovel? And really, the best shovel is how you use it. Yes, there are specific things that you need to do. That's what zones are there. They're guide rails, they're gears. That's what I often relate to my runners in the Evergreen Endurance Runner community, is that what we're actually doing is using certain gears at the right time. If you use those gears at the right time, you will get the correct adaptations and results. So why is it that there is people out there that will advocate zone 2, gear 2, or why will people out there advocate that zone 2 running didn't do them any good? Because they were both using the same shovel in different ways. It wasn't the shovel, it was how it was actually being used. I often say to the runners I coach, I talk a lot to them about gear 1 and gear 2, zone 1 and 2 to most people. The reason I talk about it a lot isn't that it's more important than 3, 4, or 5. It's just one of the gears that isn't used enough. Most runners, older endurance runners, are trying to widen out their aerobic base or gain more fitness or efficiency while only working in gear 3, 4, and 5. If you drove a car like that, someone would say to you at some point, have you ever thought that you might want to try gear 1 or gear 2? And you go, oh no, I just like staying in gear 3, 4, and 5. Or even worse, you think you're in gear 2, driving along, but actually you're such a terrible driver that you're always in gear 3, 4, or 5, which is even worse. And then pushing this car analogy further, the car suddenly breaks down because you've been thrashing the living daylights out of it. And you go, I don't know why that happened. Crikey, I'm a decent driver. But the engine didn't agree with you. You thought, your ego, your mind thought that you were driving great. This is an affliction actually for most men in a car. And I have to say, I don't suffer with it. I am a terrible car driver, just as an aside. But we think we're driving really well. But the proof is in the results we get and how the car goes. So the reason I'm always going on to my runners about gear 1 and 2 is it's not used enough. It's not that it's more important. We do, within the Evergreen Endurance Runner model, particularly the sustainable speed framework, really utilizes a lot of gear 3 as well, zone 3, that hallowed bad zone. I've written a book, which you might be interested in, there's the link below, called The Dead Zone Fix, which is about runners in that car, so to speak, revving away, always at some level of gear 3, either low, mid, or high. But the book isn't about demonizing that gear. It's just about, are you overusing that gear? And that's the problem. When you hear someone say that zone doesn't work, it's not accurate. It's basically saying to someone, I've tried it, it doesn't work. But have you tried it correctly? So, what are these gears or zones, and how can you get the best out of them? The perfect pacing method is based on some pretty simple principles that I share in my book, The Dead Zone Fix. The basic principle is your lungs know way more quickly than any watch or heart rate monitor how hard you're working. Like the car analogy, if you're looking at the revometer, you'll know how hard the car's working. The speed it's going isn't relevant because you don't know the terrain it's on. It could be going up a steep hill. You'll look at the revometer, you know how hard it's working. Your revometer is your lungs, is your breathing. Anybody that's seen, as I sadly did with my dad, somebody suffer with COPD will know what it's like to see somebody have reduced lung capacity. You can be in zone 4 just getting up from a chair and walking 10 yards. When I saw my dad do that, it was all to do with effort. That's what the gears are. So gear 1, you could run forever like this. If I was on a bike beside you, you could run forever. Gear 2, bit more effort. If you're chatting away to me beside the bike, I could hear your breathing. 3, this is where we all love to run, really. It's that Goldilocks zone of gear 3 where you can run comfortably hard. Gear 4's hard. Gear 5, maximum effort. So why does gear 1 and 2 get so much love and the others don't? If you look at this pyramid, imagine trying to grow the pyramid from just gear 3, 4, and 5. It wouldn't work very well, would it? If you tried to grow it from this point, the widest point is from the bottom of gear 3. So that's as big as your pyramid could get. Now, as I've said, I'm not knocking zone 3 running. We do a lot of it. But like I said earlier, if not just what you think you're running, what you're actually doing is running at some level of tempo. Your easy runs are too hard. Your speed workouts aren't in the right dosage, not sustainable, then you can pretty much guarantee that you'll be running in some level of tempo most of the time. So either gear 3, maybe gear 4, or the odd bit of gear 5. If that's the bottom of your pyramid, that's as wide as it's ever going to get. So you're going to keep working harder and harder. Your results are going to plateau, stagnate. You're going to go, oh, I'm just old. I'm just old. And I say it every time on every video, just as a disclaimer, age is a reality. Ultimately, we're all going to get slower. But do you want to get slower quicker, or do you want to get slower? That's the reality, isn't it? And do you want to surprise yourself every now and again and think, actually, like I did in my 50s, I asked myself the question, what if there's more? And there was more. I didn't realize there was going to be more, but there was. I'm now nearly 62. And yeah, I will decline. I know that. I'm not stupid. And hopefully none of you are. But aren't you a little bit curious? Do you want age to be the winner, which it ultimately will be? Or do you want your habits to be the winner? If you're doing most of your running in gear 3 or 4 or 5, as far as your body's concerned, then you're going to be going, yeah, this zone 2 never works. It's rubbish. Like the car analogy earlier, I'm driving along. You think you're in gear 2, but no, you're in gear 3, really. Sometimes gear 4. And you're fighting it and you're resisting it. And that's your habit. That's the way you drive. You're not having anyone tell you to drive any different because you've been doing this a long time. And then the stuff starts to fall off the car. The wheels don't work so well. The paintwork starts rusting. And slowly it gets worse. And you say, that's just my car. It's let me down. Ultimately, all cars would let you down in the end. But have you just drove it into the ground? This is the reality we're dealing with as older endurance runners. You can really buy in to more gear 1 and gear 2. And I said gear 1 as well. Oh my goodness. Now, I recently was chatting to one of my runners, and he was telling me a story where, he had to go through somebody giving him stick as he ran. I wanted him to be in that gear 1, which is really conversational. And it's like a reset. Now, why do we want to do this? The bottom of the pyramid is gear 1 and 2. As these widen out, so does your gear 3, so does your gear 4, and so does your gear 5 to a degree. They're not the better zones or gears. They're just the ones that you probably haven't been using much. So I want you to become a more efficient driver, so to speak, of your running, a better navigator of your running. When we look at this training plan you have, whatever training plan you have, and you're saying, oh, training plans keep breaking me. It's like being out on the road in the car, following the sat nav, and then taking a bend too fast and flying off the bend and going, but it was the map's fault. But it wasn't, was it? The map told you there was a bend there. The map, the training plan will be telling you to do an easy run. But are you doing it in gear 1 and 2? Really? Do you know that? Or do you think it? Does it feel like gear 1 and 2? Or are you more worried about what it looks like on Strava, or what your club might think, or how you compare in your club running? Is it truly gear 1 and 2? Zone 1 and 2? Because if it's not because this zone is the magic zone, no zone is. And like I say, we do a lot of tempo work, but it's broken down into chunks, into intervals within the sustainable speed framework, so that it's digestible and controllable. We're working through the gears in our training. Gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, gear 5, back down again. If you've got a interval session, you might be going into gear 5, some of that for reps, but then you might come right back down into gear 1 to get those recoveries. That way you can get higher intensity work surrounded by lower intensity gear 1 and 2. It's going to be more palatable for a older endurance runner. I hope that this has helped you. Hopefully the shovel analogies and car analogies haven't been too onerous, but I feel really strongly about this. I keep seeing things about zone 1 and zone 2, and it reminded me of a song. There's a line in a song, what's the Prefab Sprout song, I think, and it's something along the lines of, words are trains for going past what really has no name, or something. You could apply that to zones. They're not solid. It's not this phone. It's a tangible thing. Us old men, we always have our cards in the back. I get stick from my kids for that, but it seems practical to me. So that's tangible. A zone isn't, it's a concept. Now, concepts are really powerful because they give us guide rails. The gears, the zones, they're just guide rails. That's all they are. They're not the law. And so if zones aren't working for you, if a certain zone isn't working for you, what are the results you're getting now? How's that going for you? But also, are you future-proofing your running? I was chatting to a runner the other day. He was asking me about, does what I do work? He'd seen an ad on Facebook and he said, what proof have you got? And I said, what proof do you want? Because that's fair enough. And he then shared with me his running, and he was a really good runner in his 50s, doing, I can't remember all of them, like very good 5Ks, half marathons, marathon runner, really good. And I said to him, I said, really, you're doing really well now. But I said, everything you should be looking at now is about future-proofing your running. So think about what you do now. If you're watching this now and you're 50, what do you have to do over the next 10 years to future-proof your running in your 60s? If you're 60s like me, what do I have to do to future-proof my running in my 70s? And dare I say it, in your 70s into your 80s, because technology and life and diets and all this sort of runners, I believe we are in a potentially fantastic era from a technological point of view. There will be things that will enable athletes to run for much longer. The one thing that technology will never get round, though, is our egos. And if we're not willing to change our habits, if we want to jump in the proverbial car and drive it like we always drove it, but now it's a bit older and it needs to go through the gears a bit more gently, then that car isn't going to go so well. And we can blame the car, we can blame age. And as I said earlier, age, of course, is an ultimate reality, but you can't control your age, but you can control the habits that you use. And for me, that is what the Dead Zone Fix book is about. Those habits, really, it's a book about changing habits and maybe beliefs. If you're interested in that, it's below here, it's $4.99. I think a lot of older runners are in effect in a trance. They've got used to doing a certain pace, a certain way, and they tell themselves they're going out for an easy run or tempo run, but they're in a kind of trance, a kind of habit, and that habit needs to be broken or adjusted for them to continue progressing over time. So I know some of this you may disagree with or agree with. To be honest, that's not my problem. But what I do hope is it opens your mind to looking at your running in a less dogmatic way and a more curious way. Because I think the best runners I work with are curious. They don't always take on everything I say or suggest questions, but they will try something new to see how it ultimately pans out. Anyway, bye for now.